How is everyone doing today? In this video, we are going to talk about the next few banners and some of the current banners that are currently in the game right now when it comes to all the things you should consider before Castras gets here, because yes, Castras for the most part is going to be here very soon, with it being what, maybe around 2 days left before Maida leaves. And right now there are 2 good characters on the banner currently, but I'm pretty sure if you haven't already summoned for them, you're probably not going to, and we have quite a bit of characters coming out in the future as well. And now I do have to talk about Anaxagoras at some point in time. I don't know when that's going to be in regards to what he's able to do. Same thing with showcasing them whenever we get the chance to do that. There's just a lot to talk about for that character specifically, but we've already dipped our hands into what she's able to do and what she's able to bring, especially with all of the stuff, including with remembrance, with the new memo sprite, and also with the new added addition of the global passive as well, which we will talk about that in a quick moment. But to go ahead and start talking about the characters out right now, Maida and Huohuo honestly are both really nice characters in what they're able to do. Maida is specifically going to be the main DPS that is going to be like on auto mode, so he's basically an auto player's dream just because he's almost never able to die, and he has an absurd amount of power that he's able to throw out, but of course at the cost of you not being able to control him, which I think is cool and also not cool at the same time. I don't know how I feel about that, but Maida is still a really good character without a doubt, being an attacker, but he is going to be stuck at the current moment as a main DPS or a hyper carry style character. Now I do think in the future that he will be in some way, shape, or form a sub DPS to certain teams, whether that is of course for Castras, because we do know Maida and Castras work together. Same thing goes for characters like, let's say, Blade in the future. If they get buffs, they could work together, or maybe even Jingli. I don't know, there's a lot of different things that could happen technically when it comes to looking at what Maida has the potential to do, just because of the way his kit is. He seems like someone who would be a really good sub DPS. He doesn't have a main DPS to work with of course us having all these HP requirement characters. I don't know, maybe Maida might have a spot somewhere else. And then looking at Huohuo as well, Huohuo is a really great premium sustain that is just by far very universal in what she's able to do. Now of course she has been a little bit nerfed since Empress's release, just because memo sprites do take up that blast healing that she provides. And not only that, you're also looking at a brand new character like Castorice, who's not able to use Huohuo because she doesn't take energy the same way these other characters provide it, or these other characters have it, like how Huohuo is able to basically help everyone out with their ultimate. Sadly for Castras, it is going to be based on her HP more than anything, so you aren't going to really be able to throw on Huohuo to her team, and she's just going to be used on everything else. Now there are a couple of characters that don't use Huohuo, is Facial, Akron, Castras. Does seem like a little bit of a problem because of course these are the big hitters of most of the archetypes that are in the game. But of course Huohuo without a doubt is still a really great character, just because there are a couple of things that we do need to talk about. A lot of characters without a doubt will always gain some really good bonuses with the energy that she's able to provide. She's also able to give an attack bonus, which most characters scale off of, and not only that, she's able to cleanse off turn, which is a really good thing. The only thing that is something that we don't have at the moment, which would be beneficial to Huohuo in the future, is that, remember, we are getting buffs for certain characters, and one of those characters so happens to be Kafka. And for Dot specifically, Huohuo has always been a really great character for that team, because not only are you getting that attack scaling to help out with the buffs, but you're also getting that energy to help repop those dots that Kafka's able to do. And with Kafka being one of the first waves of characters to be able to be buffed, this is going to be a really big buff to Huohuo, because she is going to be adding another team back into the rotation of teams you would usually use. Of course, Huohuo has been a good pickup as well for some of the newer characters like Aglia, where a lot of these remembrance characters do get, for the most part, a high energy cost, and having someone who's able to give you a percentage of that energy cost is always a really good thing. So yes, Huohuo and Maida are both really good characters, but of course we need to talk about some of the more specific things, like having Castras come into the game, and then some of the reruns that we will be seeing in the first half, and then some of the stuff that we're going to see in the second half. Castras without a doubt is going to be one of our strongest remembrance characters. Might not be as insane as Aglia on release, but I think as time goes by, we're probably going to see a lot more crazier things down the line for Castras. She's just an overall really good character and very fitting of an anniversary character. She does a lot of damage. she has a lot of intricacy when it comes to how to play her. There are many different ways to play her, whether you want to like buff her up and then let everything go, or you just want to spam the dragon. There's a lot of really cool things that come with that. And not only that, she's also going to be sporting that global passive that will be active whenever she's on the team or whenever she's not on the team, which has of course seen a divide or a split for a lot of people when it comes to the benefit of that and the implications of what that could mean in the future. Now, I do think realistically that this global passive specifically, I'm not talking about whatever may come out in the future, this specific global passive I don't think is the biggest deal, just because the revive that you get isn't a real revive, if you know what I mean. It's a temporary revive that lasts for 1 turn, and if you don't get healed, they instantly die again, and if you take another hit, they instantly die as well. So if you don't get anything in regards to a shield, I think, or a heal, they just instantly die right back again. And it really wasn't a full-on revive, it literally just lasts for 1 turn, which of course by the time they come back around, if you know you still haven't healed them and they get knocked down, that global passive really wasn't going to help you out. There's many situations where people were thinking now you can start running no sustain for like almost everything because this is a thing that can work. Although you can, if you get knocked out and by the next time that character comes around and you still haven't healed them, they're just gonna get knocked right back down, and that doesn't really add much value to, of course, giving you that buff of having that global passive. You know, I think realistically this is nothing more than a quality of life thing to have, just in case you're on auto and you so happen to die. You're able to res, your sustain can give you that heal, and then you're pretty much good to go. I think it's going to be following in that manner more than anything, which I really do like. If you think about it, the fact that this global passive has some type of con to it, where if they don't get healed in that certain amount of time, they just instantly die once again. I think it's a really good drawback to something that is available when she's not on the team. Right now, I think if she was on the team, maybe you could buff it up a little bit. Like, okay, if you die while Castras is on the field, you get to get a full revive. Like, you get 1 HP, so it doesn't expire if they so happen to never get healed or something like that, and not just the temporary revival state. But regardless, Castras is still one of the better DPSs in the game, able to do good single target damage, able to do absolutely amazing AoE damage without a doubt. She's just gonna be absolute monster in every mode that she's in, whether it be Pure Fiction, whether it be Apocalyptic Shadow, whenever it be MOC. She's just gonna be a really good overall unit that realistically you wouldn't want to skip on purpose. Now, if you don't like Castras, it's all good. There's gonna be many great characters in the future that may come out, even someone like Anaxa, who looks absolutely busted with what he's able to do. But Castras is just a really good, well-rounded character that many people should be able to look at being a benefit to their account without a doubt. And then looking at some of the characters that we will be getting in the future, when it comes to the reruns, these are a little bit more specific cases, and also some that are not as important in my honest opinion. Looking at some of the characters that we're going to have, one of the main ones that I think is a little bit higher in priority than anything is going to be Fugue. Fugue is of course the replacement for Harmony MC, just because remember that he is going to be Remembrance if you of course go into Empress and finish that storyline. Sadly, I have not. I've been really lazy with the story, my bad. But for the most part, you will be replacing Remembrance MC just because of how strong he is for that path, and you really wouldn't use Harmony. So having Fugue is that substitution that you're going to be using for not having HMC anymore. Now, Fugue is going to give you that super break. Fugue is going to allow you to be able to use Exo Toughness or a double toughness bar, allowing you to break enemies twice, which is very strong for a multitude of different characters, and it's just a really big nuke overall if you end up getting Fugue, and allowing certain characters like Firefly, like Rappa, like Buhil be able to break twice. It's a really good thing without a doubt, and it's just a lot of damage going around if you're giving them a double toughness bar. Just a lot of extra damage. And then she also has her own ways of ignoring toughness. She has ways of doing a lot of toughness damage with her own kit. So she's just an overall really foolproof super break character. Now, realistically, when it comes to her priority all over versus a lot of these characters that are coming out, unless you are a really big break fan, like I mean you really love Firefly like me, you really love Buhil, you really love Rappa, those are the only reasons I would say to go for Fugue if you don't already have her. I feel like if you've loved Super Break as much as you think, you probably already have Fugue for the most part. But if you don't have Fugue, I really only recommend this if you just really love the break category, or you're just hyper invested into one character. Like you have Eidolons on Firefly or something, you have Eidolons on Huohuo, anything of that sort, Fugue would be a really great pickup. And not only that, Ruan-Mei will be free for those that don't have Ruan-Mei. So this is a really good pickup, and you could technically get a full team for free if you already have a break character. If you already have Firefly, if you already have Buhil or Rappa, you're getting Ruan-Mei for free. You're gonna pull Fugue, and then you already have Gallagher in the backline, who's a free sustain for the most part, which is a really good thing for those who want to try out break, or for those that already are very invested into break. This could always be really good. And then the same thing goes for Eidolons for Ruan-Mei. This is the extra 20% defense ignore if you have E1, which if you already have Ruan-Mei, you get the free one. That's just a free Eidolon, which is absolutely insane. Other than that, when it comes to Fugue, the other support is going to be Jiao Shou. Jiao Shou is a little bit of a weird pick as well, just because he is an overall really great general debuffer, but realistically is meant for two characters. One being Yun Li because of the ultimate damage buff, and also the other associated buffs that he has that are a little bit more general towards damage, and then Acheron herself. Acheron, by far one of the best beneficiaries of having Jiao Shou on the team, because every time an enemy acts, Acheron gets a stack, which is very important to her ultimate game, which is absolutely amazing. We haven't really seen a lot of buffs towards Acheron's team for quite some time, putting her a little bit more in the backline because she's not able to brute force as heavily as something like Break, as something like some of these Remembrance characters, and something as what else am I thinking of? Oh, and follow-up. There's just so many great teams that are out right now that Acheron's in a little bit of a weird spot, and this goes into Acheron being a rerun as well. As you can see, it's just really hard to look at a lot of these characters and pull them without keeping in mind a lot of the really crazy characters we're going to get. Remember, Castras is only one step of the Remembrance team, and then we're going to see a lot more. We have Sunday being a part of that team. We have, who else? Hyacinth that's coming out, if I'm not wrong. That is the healer that is coming out in the future. She's gonna be Remembrance. She's gonna be some type of support or healer for that team. They're only just now getting built up for that archetype, and I can only wonder how insane it's going to get once you start getting all those Remembrance characters, because those characters specifically are more intermingled with every single path. So it is going to be very interesting to see where Acheron, Jiao Shou, and Fugue are going to end up with Break and the debuff style centered teams being put a little bit more in the backline because of all these new archetypes like Break, Follow-Up, and Remembrance period that are just so strong compared to the rest. So it is really hard to go ahead and pick up these characters with the state of the game that they're in currently. Of course, the only other characters that are left that are around Castorice's release is Anaxa, and same thing goes for Dr. Ratio. Dr. Ratio, in all honesty, the biggest skip without a doubt, not only because he was free for the most part, but for those that don't have him, at this point his job, it was literally taken away by having Fei Xiao in the game. So Fei Xiao was just the end all be all follow-up archetype leader. You would just use her over everything else. Like, Dr. Ratio has no reason realistically to be summoned on in terms of a lot of people's accounts, just because if you're going to be pulling for a primary follow-up DPS, Fei Xiao would be that for you instead of Dr. Ratio. So I really would recommend getting Ratio. But Anaxa, this character is really a big question mark. I do want to make my own video individually about this character, because he just seems like he's the all-arounder character, even more so than Castorice, just because being able to implant every weakness, being able to, if I'm not wrong, debuff as well, plus being able to do AoE damage, he seems a little busted. And even more so, this means that he can either be a main DPS or a supportive character for something like Herta, which looks absolutely insane. So other than that, that's pretty much it when it comes to all the characters around Castorice's release. I'm very excited for her, without a doubt, just because of how much time I've been waiting for her ever since we've seen those animations at the first time that they put it on Twitter. I'm just very excited for this character. Let me know if you're gonna be pulling for Castorice or any of these characters that I mentioned in this video, and why. I would love to know what y'all are looking for in terms of your accounts, just so I can see how everyone's doing right now in Starro. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. See you on the next one, and peace.